Everyone says AI can help you research a stock faster. But which AI is actually the best? I tested ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Perplexity, and Grok using the exact same Apple stock research prompt. The results genuinely surprised me. By the end of this video, you will know which AI gave the best analysis, which one had the most reliable sources, and which one I would actually use before investing. Let's get started. The 5 AI tools I am testing today are ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, Gemini, and Grok. To make this comparison fair, I asked every AI exactly the same question. And the question is, analyze Apple as a long-term investment. Include the business overview, revenue growth, profitability, valuation, risk, competitors, and whether you would consider it a buy, hold, or avoid for a long-term investor. Use publicly available information. I choose Apple because it's one of the world's largest companies, has extensive public financial data, and is followed by millions of investors. Now, I am not judging these tools based on whether they tell me to buy or sell Apple. Instead, I am evaluating how well each one helps an investor understand the business. I will score every AI in 5 categories. First one, accuracy. Second one, depth of analysis. Third one, readability. Fourth one, sources and references. And last, fifth one, overall usefulness. Let's see how the first AI performed. The first tool I tested was ChatGPT. Right away, I noticed something I really liked. Instead of giving a long wall of text, ChatGPT organized the information into clear sections. It started with Apple's business overview, explaining that the company's biggest competitive advantage is its ecosystem. That may sound simple, but it's actually one of the biggest reasons investors like Apple. Once customers own an iPhone, many also buy AirPods, an Apple Watch, a MacBook, and subscribe to service like iCloud or Apple Music. That creates recurring revenue and very high customer loyalty. Moving to next, ChatGPT discussed Apple's revenue growth. Apple today is a more stable compounder than an explosive growth stock. It also highlighted that Apple's services business has become one of its fastest growing and highest margin segments. When discussing profitability, ChatGPT did an excellent job. It mentioned Apple's strong free cash flow, high operating margins, massive cash generation, and ongoing share buyback program. Those are exactly the kind of fundamentals long-term investors should pay attention to. The valuation section was also balanced. And one thing also ChatGPT do, instead of saying Apple is simply expensive or cheap, ChatGPT explained that great businesses can still become poor investment if investors pay too much for them. That's an important distinction. Finally, it covered major risks, including Apple's dependence on the iPhone, increasing AI competition, regulatory pressure, and China's importance to both manufacturing and sales. Overall, ChatGPT gave me one of the easiest reports to read. It was structured, balanced, and beginner-friendly. The only weakness I noticed was that it didn't provide many direct citations, meaning investors should still verify key numbers using trusted financial sources. For my test, I would score ChatGPT this. That gives ChatGPT a very strong overall score. The second AI I tested was Google's Gemini. At first glance, Gemini looked more professional than ChatGPT. It presented Apple's business in a clean report format and immediately explained how Apple's hardware and services work together to create one of the strongest ecosystems in the world. One thing I liked was that Gemini didn't just describe Apple's product, it explained why the ecosystem matters from an investment perspective. It pointed out that high switching costs keep customers inside Apple ecosystem, making future revenue more predictable. That was a strong start. Gemini also went much deeper into Apple's profitability. Instead of simply saying Apple has high margins, it included metrics like gross margin, return on equity, and free cash flow. Those numbers help investors understand how efficiently Apple generates profit. Another thing I appreciated was the valuation section. Gemini didn't simply say Apple was expensive. It explained why. It compared Apple's current price to earning ratio with historical averages and showed that investors are paying a premium because they expect Apple to continue growing through AI and services. The risk section was also detailed. Gemini discussed regulatory pressure, China's roles in Apple's supply chain, slowing hardware replacement cycle, and increasing competition in AI. Overall, Gemini produced a report that felt more analytical than conversational. However, I also noticed one downside. Because the response included so much detail and so many numbers, it could feel overwhelming for someone who is completely new to investing. But if you are already comfortable reading financial information, Gemini gives you more depth. So here is my score. Overall, Gemini performed really well, but the next AI surprised me even more. Before moving to next AI, if you are interested in investing, trading, and how AI can help you become a smarter investor, make sure to subscribe my channel Invest with Yaswant. So now moving to the next AI. The next AI I tested was Perplexity. When I opened Perplexity, I immediately noticed something different. Instead of asking me to simply trust its answer, it showed me exactly where the information came from. That might not sound exciting at first, but for investor, it is a huge advantage. And one of the biggest problems I noticed with AI is that it can sometimes present incorrect information very confidently. And guess what? Perplexity tries to solve that by linking directly to the original sources. During my test, it referenced company information, financial websites, and other publicly available data throughout the response. That immediately increased my confidence because I could verify the claims myself instead of taking the AI's word of it. The analysis itself was also impressive. It covered Apple's business model, profitability, valuation, risk, competitors, and investment thesis in a logical order. What stood out to me most was the balance. Perplexity wasn't trying to convince me that Apple was either a great buy or a terrible investment. Instead, it explained both sides. A strong ecosystem, excellent cash generation, high margin service business, but also premium valuation. Heavy dependence on the iPhone, regulatory risks, and geopolitical exposure. That's exactly how good investment research should look. No hype, just facts and trade-offs. Another thing I really liked was that the report stayed concise. It didn't feel bloated. Every section had a purpose. So here is my score for Perplexity. At this point, Perplexity has become my favorite tool in the test. Not because it gave the longest answer, but because it gave me the highest confidence in the information I was reading. Moving to the next AI. The fourth AI I tested was Claude. And honestly, this response surprised me. Claude didn't just summarize Apple, it analyzed the company almost like a research report. The first thing I noticed was how well it explained Apple's business model. Instead of simply saying Apple has a strong ecosystem, Claude explained why that ecosystem creates a competitive advantage and why switching costs matter for long-term investors. That level of explanation make it easier to understand Apple's business rather than just memorize facts. Next came the financial analysis. Claude covered Apple's revenue growth, profitability, margins, free cash flow, valuation, and even discussed upcoming catalysts like earnings and leadership changes. That's something the other AI tools either skipped or only mentioned briefly. Another thing I liked was that the Claude didn't try to make Apple sound perfect. It spent a good amount of time discussing risk, China, regulation, AI competition, premium valuation, product dependence, leadership transition. Those are exactly the kinds of things long-term investors should think about before buying any company. However, there was one downside. The response was extremely long. If you are looking for a quick 5-minute overview, Claude might actually give you more information than you need. Some viewers will love that, others may find it overwhelming. Now coming to a score. So here is my score. Overall, Claude is easily one of the strongest AI tools for deep fundamental research. So now the final and the fifth AI I tested was Grok. Compared with the previous tools, Grok felt much more conversational. Its report covered Apple's business, profitability, valuation, risk, and competitors in a logical order. It also highlighted Apple's growing services business, a strong ecosystem, and cash generation. Overall, I thought the information was solid, but compared with ChatGPT, Claude, and Perplexity, it didn't really offer anything unique. The analysis was accurate, it just wasn't as detailed. If someone wanted a quick overview of Apple, Grok would absolutely get the job done. But if I am making an actual investment decision, I would probably want a little bit more depth. So here is my score for Grok. A respectable performance, but not enough to move into the top 3. Now coming to final ranking. Before I reveal my final ranking, if you are interested in investing, trading, and how AI can help you become a smarter investor, make sure to subscribe to Invest with Yashwant. After testing all 5 AI tools using the exact same prompt, here is my final ranking. I would to give number 5 Grok. A good overview, but not enough depth compared with the competition. And number 4 Gemini, very analytical with a strong financial information, but a little harder for beginners to follow. So here now top 3. I would to give number 3 to ChatGPT. Excellent structure, easy to understand, one of the best tools if you are just getting started with stock research. And number 2 Claude, the deepest analysis of the entire test. If you enjoy reading detailed research report, Claude is outstanding. And finally number 1 Perplexity, not because it gave the longest answer, not because it was the smartest, but because it combined strong analysis with something every investor should value: reliable sources. Being able to verify information is incredibly important, and that's where the Perplexity stood out. So, can AI replace stock research? My answer is no, but it can make you significantly faster. Instead of spending hours gathering information from multiple websites, AI can organize that information into a starting point for your research. The key phrase there is a starting point. No AI should replace your own thinking. Always verify important financial information using company feelings and trusted financial sources before making investment decisions. For me, the best workflow isn't choosing just one AI, it's combining them. Use Perplexity to gather reliable information. Use Claude or ChatGPT to simplify and explain it. Then verify everything before making an investment decisions. So that's all for this video. If you enjoyed this experiment, subscribe to Invest with Yashwant. On this channel, I will be testing more AI tools, breaking down investing concepts, and showing practical ways to become a smarter investor using technology. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.